I said he was a bad pick in best ball. How we doing, fellas? Welcome. It's Saturday. Chuck and Jayhawk here to bring you some strategy for DraftKings and FanDuel. Ignore this. This was just my reserve lineup. Don't mean anything. We have a little three gamer. It's not too bad. A little bit better than the huge slate we had yesterday, but we have no value. So Jayhawk's going to help us find it. Jayhawk, how we doing today?
Doing doing great, man. Yeah, definitely a full back slate after that huge slate last night with the little three gamer here. But as always, great Saturday. Excited to run this down with you.
Yeah, excuse my voice. I'm still a little bit not 100%, but we're going to power through this and, find the edge today, I guess. It's going to be a tough one. I mean, immediately, just sorting by value, there's only one player under 4K on the front page of DK value, and there's only 6 teams playing today. Jalen Smith, it's like the only cheap value we actually have. I mean, I love Derek Jones. Pretty happy to see that he's a model approved value at 15% on DraftKings. I'm going to be over that. Patrick Williams is uncomfortable, but on FanDuel at 4,500, just get a couple stocks and he could get there. And then Zachary Risachet is a guy Jayhawk and I were discussing before the stream. He had an absolute blow up game, followed up by absolute nothing. So for value, I mean, what are the first places that we have to look to today?
Yeah, man, definitely a slate that's lacking value here. The first, chalk value piece we both saw was Garrison Mathews here. He's probably going to be the chalk of all chalk for value. But I think, you mentioned it, Risachet is definitely a good pivot to a chalky Mathews at half the ownership. So starting with the Hogs, totally fine with both those guys for, somewhat a value.
Yeah, it feels like high risk value with this guy, but I mean, we're taking like a. Sometimes he's going to put up literal 4, and then once he put up 60. So, model's telling us we can get to him. His ownership's in check, so I don't mind being slightly over the field on him. He's not a guy that I don't think he's a guy we want to jam in like 70-80% of our lineups, right?
Yeah, just be fine, getting somewhat overweight, nothing crazy.
What's up, guys in chat? Heath, good to see you. Thoughts on playing Mobley and Allen together? Well, if you notice, they are number 2 and number 3 on DK value. I think it's fine on the 3 gamer. I'm not setting any kind of rules to prevent it. I know it's kind of uncomfortable if you're hand building your lineup, but they're both good plays. Their prices are great. And the first thing I noticed on DraftKings was I have a need for like a 4K power forward. I'm getting a few of these guys. And so, playing these two at probably a weak position seems fine to me.
Yeah, I'm totally fine playing both, especially 3 game slate here. Totally fine firing them both up here.
Okay, so quicker Mobley. This is a good one. So 2 major pieces of news on the slate. Zach LaVine questionable, Isaiah Quickly questionable. I kind of just hope they both sit because then maybe that opens up some stuff. We'll have that news before lock, at least for Zach LaVine. Now, if Quickly is in, he's coming back from a pelvic contusion. I feel like there's got to be a minutes restriction because I don't see how he could have been running in the past few days. His conditioning's probably a little bit light, but I mean, Quickly, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, man. Kind of on the same page there. I don't think he's necessarily a great play, even if he plays here. Potential minutes cap, and it's not the best matchup here against the Clippers. So I'll probably be off quickly, even if he does come back here.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, he's going to be super low owned. So if you have a few percent in your 150 set, it's probably okay to take shots, but it's just disappointing how much he's going to take away from his teammates. I mean, RJ Barrett is way priced up. His price is if Quickly's out. And so if Quickly's in at 8,800 on DraftKings, he's only projected for 5% ownership. I still think we can take shots. FanDuel, 8,200 at 22%. I think that's okay ownership as well, even if Quickly's in. If Quickly's out, everyone here gets a boost. And then, I mean, what are we doing at the Jakob Pertl? He's only projected for 16 and 12% ownership. I'm kind of surprised it's that low. He's projected really strongly across the industry. I guess like him versus Zubac is the big debate. So what are you looking at with these guys?
Yeah. So I think, sorry, I'm kind of like you. I'm clearing my throat. I think Pirtle makes for a ton of sense here, especially as like a pivot to Zubac here. He's still got that high usage according. I mean, assuming that Quickly remains out. So I think I'd like him more if Quickly remained out, but he's still in play if Quickly's in. So totally fine with him as a play there.
Yeah, kind of like Pirtle as a nice little pivot off of Zubac's ownership. We save $100. Probably doesn't do anything for us today, but they're very close in OF index, very close in value. Zubac does have the slight edge, but we save a little bit of ownership going to Pirtle, so I don't mind pivoting some of our ownership over there. Is Harden a must? On my first run of DraftKings lineups today, James Harden was my number one exposed player, and I hated so much. I really like Norman Powell as much as you know, I guess didn't like him before. I think he's a great play now. I mean, and if you caught the beginning of the stream, he's averaging 27 a game, which is absolutely insane. He doesn't really do much else besides score. He'll get a few rebounds, but Model thinks he's okay value on FanDuel at 6,300. The 50% ownership definitely makes sense. I'm actually probably going to be over this on FanDuel, and then on DraftKings 7,200. I think he's a pretty good GPP play at 17%. Now with James Harden, are you trying to get away from him? Do you kind of like this Norman Powell pivot?
I still think I'm fine with Harden at that ownership. He's just in a really good spot here against Toronto, and I think Powell. I wouldn't hate like you could potentially play them both together because Powell's been really really good. So on FanDuel, I'd be probably more comfortable playing them both together. DraftKings, I would probably be more exposed to Harden for his price.
It's just kind of weird because we don't really have that many pay-ups on today's slate, so raw points could definitely matter. I mean, Trae Young, top of the model, James Harden, Jalen Johnson, and then the Cleveland guys, I guess, maybe the Chicago guys. Like, there's really not that much to pay up for, and so that kind of helps that, since we don't have the value, we don't have that many guys to pay up for in the first place. But Trae Young, top of the model, a little bit more expensive than James Harden on DraftKings, 100 cheaper on FanDuel. Uh, I mean, I get the lower ownership on DraftKings. Trae Young's more high owned on FanDuel. What do you think about Trae Young versus James Harden?
Yeah, so both I think are really good tournament plays. Obviously, Harden's going to be the cashier play. I don't hate Young as a potential pivot to Harden. It is another pretty good matchup here against Chicago. I think we were kind of talking pre-stream. We're a little bit worried just in general. Or were we worried? I don't know. I do prefer Jalen Johnson, for the Hawks in general. We'll get to him, but still think Trey's fine up top.
Well, we were worried about Trae Young. So this is a narrative thing, and like I mentioned the thing with Luca yesterday. This is why we don't take narratives into account that often. I don't know if this is really a narrative though, but if Zach LaVine is out, Io DeSunmu would start, and he would be guarding Trae Young. And there's apparently some data that supports that Io DeSunmu locks Trae Young up. So if Zach LaVine's out, I'm actually going to be slightly less interested in Trae Young. But if Zach LaVine plays, then I'm just going to fire up Trae Young. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I love that correlation there because LaVine is a completely different defender than Ao.
And it's like I've talked about, we don't want to put too much weight into individual matchups because how often is he actually going to be guarding him one on one? But in this specific instance, if Ao's starting and he's on the court with Trae Young, he's going to be the primary defender. They can pick and roll all they want. Ao is going to make Trae's life hell tonight. So again, that's like something that maybe you don't want to play too much with the actual projections, but just something to consider.
Yeah, I love that call.
Unicorn Love. Hopefully it is money time. Let's see. Cleveland backup point guard Ty Jerome. Man, this guy's come up on the stream multiple times this past week. Let's take a closer look at him. I mean, did you have any thoughts about him before the stream started?
The Cleveland guards, especially the backups here, have been so tough to predict. I almost like Sam Merrill. If Jerome's going to be popular, I almost like Sam Merrill as a pivot. He's still fine. I don't know. It's tough to get to him, in my opinion, with all those cheap guards they have.
So here's the thing: his minutes are definitely going to be capped. Looks like maybe we can get 21 minutes in a blowout. I mean, this was a 40-point game at halftime yesterday. No idea how Golden State got it within 20. But Ty Jerome, I mean, 21, 16, 19 minutes. He saw 9 minutes and 7 minutes, but for the most part, he's getting 15 plus every game. Looks like he's kind of shooting out of his mind. This is unsustainable, just like scrolling through the box score. But the minutes are there. I already talked about we don't have any value. I think he's pretty low owned, 4% owned, 3,600 on DK. I don't hate this. Yeah, gonna probably bump him up a little bit, actually.
Yeah, he's definitely low on. That's the intrigue there for sure.
And then this next comment, Cleveland should blow them boys out. So they're 13-point favorites. This is close to blowout territory, but I always say if it's a 13-point game with 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter, Cleveland starters are still going to be in the game. So it's really tough to like. We have Ty Jerome projected for 14 minutes. We saw he mostly plays more than 14 minutes, but if we project him for more than this, he's going to end up in every lineup that we play. So all that to say, I think you just talked me into playing some more Ty Jerome. So shout out to you, Don.
Yeah, and then one more thing to add to that. I'm probably not going to build this way, but a smart way to build is, if you are playing the blowout narrative for some reason, I probably wouldn't get potentially as much Cavs. Like I wouldn't load up on Cavs and play more of Ty Jerome's of the world.
That's a good point. Like that question earlier about would you play Evan Mobley and Jared Allen together? That's fine, but I probably wouldn't throw Ty Jerome in the same lineup because if Ty Jerome's getting extra minutes, that means both of those guys are losing out. Now you could play one of them with Ty Jerome because one of those guys could definitely get there, even losing their last rotation due to blowout run.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that.
Buzelis is a salary saver. So if Zach LaVine's out, I think we can take another look at him. But if Zach LaVine's in, I mean, we don't even have him projected for 10 minutes. My thing is, do you remember Sasha Vezenkov from the Kings last season, the rookie? That's who Buzelis reminds me of, like not just in real life, but as like a DFS play because he's always min price. Sometimes he gets a few minutes, but he doesn't do anything when he's on the court. Like 2 points, 2 blocks, 2 steals. Like his fantasy totals are propped up by stocks right now.
Yeah. If he was playing more minutes, he's a decent producer. I'd be more interested, but they're still playing Dalen Terry and those guys in front of him. So I don't have a ton of interest there.
Yeah, that's the problem. I don't see him taking over to where he's going to take minutes from those other guys. But he's 3,200. He's probably going to go unowned. If Zach LaVine is out, he could be worth a few percent if you're playing 150.
Yeah, definitely a 150 shot for sure.
It's just we haven't projected for less than 10 minutes, so even on a 3-gamer, it's a tough shot. Caris LeVert, I think he's okay. Yeah, 4,800 on DraftKings, 52 on FanDuel. Ownership's in check. I mean, we just talked all about Ty Jerome. What about the actual backup point guard, Caris LeVert?
Yeah, I would definitely be probably more inclined to play LeVert here. So I think he's fine. Definitely not. I don't think he's a core by any means, but he's solid at his price. I don't hate it as a play.
Now, his fantasy totals have been really strong for the minutes he's been playing. What do we have him projected for today, Caris LeVert? 23.4 minutes. It's probably a fair projection. I mean, he hasn't even gotten there he's actually only gotten there in 2 games, so maybe that's actually a slightly high projection. But on the slate like today, I don't know. I don't think we need a ceiling from every player. Like if this $4,800 Caris LeVert gives us a score like this, but he lets you get the pieces around him, I think that's fine. So I'm pretty sure I had a bunch of Caris in my run.
Yeah, definitely, especially on a smaller slate. I think he looks pretty solid here.
Yeah, I'm at 40% Caris, so it looks like I'm double the field on DraftKings right now.
I like it. Do you think it's kind of a weird question. Do you think Caris would potentially maybe get a little bit of blowout run? I don't think so.
Nope.
But yeah.
No, I look at him as like Malik Monk. If the starters are done, he's done. And Caris actually gets hurt more from blowout run, probably similar to Malik Monk, because a lot of their second half rotation comes from those fourth quarter minutes. But I don't know. I actually kind of feel like the Cleveland coach is going to let them run because Darius Garland was in the game in the fourth quarter yesterday. So
yeah,
I don't know. I'm not sure. The last thing I'll say about that is just I think the 23 minutes is a slightly high projection. He could definitely play 23 minutes, but I think we want to project him closer to like 22, 21 and a half.
Yeah.
Harden minutes on a back-to-back. Is this something that you're concerned about?
Oh, man. This is a tough question. I mean, maybe a little bit. I don't know, man. What's your kind of take? I feel like it's still James Harden. So what do you think?
I don't care at all. Yeah, I don't think it matters at all. No. Yeah, I mean, the back-to-back he had this season, played 38 and 36, 32 and 36. He had good games in both of them. I don't adjust anything. Like if I asked Brian about this, I'm pretty sure if the model takes into account back-to-backs and it's only, I want to say it only slightly affects minutes projected. So it's already baked into this, the 34.9 minutes we haven't projected for. So don't give him any kind of docs on this. This is accounting for him being on a back-to-back.
Yeah, man. And if that game's like really close, he's going to play all the minutes he can handle. So
Yeah, it's frustrating sometimes. Like yesterday, he came out. I think he had like 15 points in the first quarter, and then barely did anything for the rest of the game. And then other times he won't do anything in the first quarter, still won't do anything for the rest of the game. But then sometimes he'll give us that these ceiling scores that we really want, but we don't need a ceiling score tonight. It's a 3 gamer.
No, definitely not.
Clowney size needed against Cleveland front. I don't think Clowney is ever needed. So I mentioned I got a ton of him in my first run, and I hate it. What do you think about Clowney?
Yeah, so I actually think he's a good producer. I like to target him more when he starts. He's still fine off the bench. I think he's solid. I'm not going to say he's a bad play, but I just wish he'd start, man. That's kind of my take with him if I'm going to play him.
Here's the thing: if he was like 40% owned, I would have very little interest. But he's 4% owned, so I'm going to play some Noah Clowney. Not jamming him in by any means. I don't think they need his size against Cleveland. He's not any better than any of the guys I would play in front of him.
Yeah. Do you think Nick Claxton gets a minor bump then with the size of Clowney obviously isn't a huge big man. Would you bump Claxton maybe a little bit?
We have him projected for 26 minutes. And so Claxton is a guy whose minutes we should expect to be ramped up until they get to,
Yeah.
probably just over 30, right? It's probably so 27 and 28 over the last 2 games. We have him projected for, 26. I mean, I don't know if we can project him for more than 26, but if you give him a couple extra minutes, he's going to look pretty good at 5,700 on this slate at this ownership.
Yeah, I was just say it's a tough matchup, but I think they probably need a size up there. That was kind of the thought with these two big men for Cleveland here.
Yeah, I don't hate it. Yeah, Nick Claxton.
Super low on, but definitely a shot there.
It's like Clowney and then Finney Smith. Was Finney Smith popping on the model? Nope. I would play him if he's popping on the model. I'll get to him. And even today, kind of look at him the same way I look at Derek Jones. Just decent player on 4K.
Yeah.
All right. Young, Ty, Zach, Horton, Wilson, LeVert. I mean, just quickly glancing at it, there's a lot of guys that I should say probably too many high risk guys, like playing Horton, Tucker, Wilson.
Horton,
It's
Horton,
yeah,
I'd say would probably just be if LaVine was out. I think he's way worse if LaVine's in.
yeah. If LaVine's in, I would have zero exposure to THT even on today's slate. If LaVine's out, I've been playing THT every slate.
Yeah, no, agreed.
Where's THT at? It's 3,800. Yeah, I mean, if LaVine's out, I'll take the shot on this guy. He's coming
Oh,
in super low owned every day.
for sure. Oh, LaVine's in. Shoot, did we just get that? Oh yeah, LaVine's in. That ruins it, man. Now the slate is. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, LaVine is available to play. All right, let's run through some questions. We'll refresh the model. I mean, we already had LaVine in, so not much should change. Young is the top point guard. He does everything for them. I don't disagree, but I think that's a dangerous way to think about players in DFS. I will say, with Zach LaVine in, I'm probably going to prefer paying up for Trae Young versus James Harden. I'm still going to have a ton of both of them, but yeah, Trae Young, top of the model. I like him even more now. It's really good total.
Yeah.
And
Sorry, go ahead.
and like Don said, he does everything for him. Boucher GPP dart. Yeah, I mentioned that my lineups have a need for this 4K power forward, so Boucher fits that. Yeah. Better if Quickly's out, but even if Quickly's in, doesn't change his role too much.
Yeah, I probably Boucher. I don't know. I think didn't we prefer Mogbo around the same price as well?
I'll have shots on both. Yeah, I
Yeah.
want to say, let's see. Mobo projects a little bit better. I did get more of him on my first run. They're both basically unowned.
Yeah.
So I think just take shots here. Yeah. How many bench players in my best lineup? Did I just run a new run? I could tell you right now. Garrison, Mathews, Does Jalen Wilson start?
I hope so. I love him.
It looks like Garrison Mathews. I don't know if Jalen Wilson starts. This won't be my best lineup going into lock, but yeah, Garrison Mathews. Have we mentioned him yet? Because he's popping as one of my highest exposed values.
Yeah, I briefly mentioned him, but let's cover him more for sure.
I mean, his DK value score isn't great. FanDuel value score isn't great, but he's 3,200 at the shooting guard position on DraftKings, projected for 57% ownership. Seems seems kind of high.
It does, and like it's definitely a good matchup, but man, it's still Garrison Mathews. It's such a small slate though. So I get it, man. What do you think about him?
I mean, he's been pretty consistently not failing for the price. He's cheaper today than he has been. I mean, I get why he's popular. I mentioned I have a bunch in my exposures. It's like these are typically the chalk that I don't want to play, but he's just too cheap and there's not enough other options to really get away from him because I might just be nuking my lineups if I do that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm probably just gonna play him, even though I don't like it as a ton.
We haven't talked about Dyson Daniels much, but 39% on DraftKings, 51% on FanDuel at 5,600. So the DK ownership, 39% seems fine. On FanDuel, I actually think that's kind of low, given that he has the shooting guard eligibility too.
Yeah,
He just put up a 7 stock game, and while we're never going to project him for that, on today's slate, he just seems like a really easy play on FanDuel at least.
yeah, I love Dyson here. He should hound whoever he's guarding. I think he's obviously a great play on FanDuel with that stalk upside, and DraftKings he's still really solid too. So definitely like Dyson here.
And like, yeah, he had 9 stocks yesterday. That accounts for 27 of his fantasy points on FanDuel. But he took 17 shots and he took 16 shots in the game before that. And that's what we really like to see. 38, 37 minutes. I think we fire up Dyson Daniels, especially on FanDuel, but we still like him on DraftKings too. I mean, this whole game, I think we just load up on this game overall.
Yeah, what did we say? Chicago's or was the number one pace team.
Yeah, they fell off. Yeah, we can't
They
say
did.
it anymore. Yeah, they're not number one. It's Washington and OKC are the top two now, surprisingly. So
Okay. Still a good spot though, I think, for both teams.
LaVine playing, should we pivot off Vooch? I don't think so. No, his price is still appropriate, even for LaVine to be in maybe 100 or two higher. But I think he's a fine play today.
Yeah, completely fine with Vooch here in tournaments.
See how he stacks up against the other centers real quick. So for OF index, he's actually number 3 behind Zubac and Mobley. Ownership is a little bit lower than them. So, but yeah, I still think Vooch is a great spot. 239 total. I mean, I think we just target this game a little bit more. None of their guys are overpriced. Maybe they're slightly, I worded that poorly. Maybe they're slightly overpriced since LaVine's been out. Josh Giddey, Kobe White, but I think they're still all worth taking shots on.
And I think the big one for me is AO. I definitely don't want to play AO at 6K with LaVine.
I will have more than 0% of AO, but yeah, it's not going to be the 50% plus like he has been every single slate. I mean, 5,600 on FanDuel, it's a little bit easier to get to. Shooting guard eligibility is not too bad, but he's just going to be a dart throw now, I think.
Yeah, completely agreed there.
Zach LaVine shouldn't really change Jalen Smith too much, though. And I mean, we haven't projected to play every minute that Vooch doesn't. So 3,700, model still thinks he's a pretty good value. Patrick Williams is actually showing up as a better value, though, from the same team, 4,700.
Yeah, I don't hate him at his ownership. I think he's probably correctly on there.
Do we think it's more of a balance build or getting to Trey? I need to rerun my stuff, but just scrolling through, it's pretty balanced. I mean, it has a lot of my lineups have Garrison Mathews at 3,200, but like the one I'm looking at right now, Garrison Mathews 3,200, Derek Jones 4,500, and no one else below Dyson Daniels at 5,700. So, yeah, just scrolling through my top lineups are pretty balanced.
That's how I feel too. I feel like Garrison's probably the only guy below 4K I feel good about.
It's just we don't have the value to go any kind of stars and scrubs, so balance is going to make more sense today.
For sure. And definitely don't forget Marissa Shea there in tournaments.
Is LaVine a start, or do we think the minutes will be way down? So he was dealing with a shoulder injury. It's a little different than what Quickly's been dealing with, the pelvic contusion. And so I'm not as concerned about this affecting Zach LaVine's minutes as I am like with Quickly. And it looks like the model isn't either, because Quickly we had projected under 30. Zach we still have projected over 30, but he is docked a couple minutes from what he usually would be projected for. So
Yeah, I'm not, maybe a couple minutes he loses, but I think he's still fine. Like a super low on shot.
yeah, and it's like at first glance, 43% on FanDuel seems like pretty high ownership, but he's 6,700 and it's a short slate and he's still pretty good at basketball. So I don't know. It feels high, but I'll be playing Zach LaVine. I don't think we necessarily want to try to get away from him.
Yeah, he's succeeded in this matchup in the past, so I like him in tournaments.
And kind of what I was saying about everyone else's prices being maybe a couple hundred more, like Zach LaVine being the same price as these guys, he's probably the best play out of all of them most of the time. Like today specifically, I'm not sure, but in a vacuum, it's typically going to be Zach LaVine over Kobe White and Josh Giddey when they're the same price.
Yeah, completely agree there.
Can we go with 2 point guards and cut Young out? Yeah, why not? Of course.
Yeah, assuming probably one of those is Harden, but yeah, I agree.
Best power forward on FanDuel besides Jalen Johnson. Let's take a look. So going by OF, Evan Mobley, RJ Barrett, Jarrett Allen, and then it's a pretty steep drop off. So, I mean, just looking at the model and the price, I'm looking at Cam Johnson right here. He's projected for 35% ownership on FanDuel. I feel like the model's telling us to either just pay down at power forward or pay up for one of these other guys. Cam Johnson's kind of in a weird tier by himself where I think the model's kind of telling us he's a little overpriced.
Yeah, I think Cam Johnson's fine. I've always been kind of an anti Cam Johnson fan. I think I'd prefer him on FanDuel, but he's fine. I do prefer Derrick Jones down low, and obviously Mobley and Johnson up top.
I will say I have exactly 36% Cam Johnson on FanDuel right now, so I am with the field. With that said, and I'm definitely going to have him in my exposures. I think what I'm trying to say is just I don't think this is the guy that we want to be jamming at all today. I think mostly we want to pay down or pay up for one of these guys.
Yeah, right on the same page with you there.
Zaire Williams, thanks for mentioning him. Did we not talk about Zaire? I was kind of hoping he was going to pop in the model more, but he does not. We did talk about him, but either way, minutes have been there. I think he's fine, even though the model's not telling us that he's a top value.
Yeah, totally fine with Zaire here as a tournament play.
I mean, these are pretty good minutes for 3,900. His usage is fine. Tough matchup against Cleveland, but don't really care about that.
Yeah, agreed.
What was his ownership coming in at? 10 and 12%? I think this is a pretty good value play. Minutes projection may be slightly a little bit high, but I mean, I'm more comfortable playing Zaire than like Jalen Wilson and Noah Clowney, and then I'll just pay up for those power forwards we just talked about.
Yeah, I'd definitely be more comfortable with him. I don't feel comfortable with Clowney tonight, or at least for me.
I've never felt comfortable with Clowney, and I've tried to avoid playing him, and it's just he's going to have a good game one time, right? It has to happen in his career.
Yeah, no, I agree. He's a good producer, man. It's a 3-game
See, I don't think so. I don't think he's a good producer. I think he's terrible.
I thought he was like I thought he was like a 1.2 fantasy point per minute, but maybe I was wrong.
I mean, this year I feel like he's doing as much as I'm doing.
Hey, he's been bad this year, that's for sure.
How do we view the Cleveland bigs, Allen Mobley, compared to Vooch and Zoo? Interested in getting to 2 of the 4? It's like just sorting by the model. Let me get that up here again, actually. Mobley and Allen versus Vooch and Zoo. So Mobley and Allen versus Vooch and Zoo. I mean, this is kind of like coin flip, right?
Yeah. Is that like is he asking like a 2v2 or is it just like all 4 in general?
Well, he's interested in getting to 2 of the 4, so I'm guessing that it could be yeah, I guess mix and match any of them. I mean, the top 2 in the model are Zubac and Mobley, and if you have the salary, you should be able to afford those guys. Jared Allen's slightly below them, but his value score is very good.
I think. Go ahead. I was just gonna say I think Vooch is probably my least favorite point per dollar. I would say Allen Mobley probably 1A, 1B for me, and then Zoo I think is solid as well.
Yeah, sorting by DK, the model agrees. Sorting by DK value, Mobley, Allen 2 and 3, Zubac's like number 7, and then Vooch is down here like number 20, and it's not that big of a difference in DK value, but on a slate that's short, it's enough of a difference that we can make our decision here. And just, yeah, I agree. So probably play a little bit less of Vooch, plus you're saving a little bit of money.
Yeah, I agree.
But again, it's my favorite game to target, so I am going to be over this 20% on Vooch. So is Jalen Wilson starting? Let's find out.
I don't think, have we got starters for that game yet?
I don't see why they would change up the starting lineup from last game. And Jalen Wilson was a 6-man. He did not start, so... Yeah, Schroeder, Cam Thomas, Nick Claxton, Cam Johnson, Finney Smith, and they're definitely starting Nick Claxton today. So I don't think Jalen Wilson starts now.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Who gets the biggest minutes boost in the Cleveland blowout game?
Ty Jerome, maybe?
Yeah, Ty Jerome would get a pretty good minutes boost. I mean, we only have him predicted for 14, and in a blowout, we saw he could get up to like 20, 21. It's got to be Ty Jerome, right?
Yeah, it's got to be. What about Merrill? Do you think Merrill gets a bump as well, or do you think he's too integral to the rotation?
Oh no, he should. Yeah, I don't think they have enough bodies to not play Sam Merrill in a blowout run, and his minutes have been fine too. They've been much stronger than Ty Jerome's. He's just the way that Merrill scores his fantasy points. He has to hit threes. Ty Jerome doesn't necessarily have to, even though he has been.
Yeah, no, I agree. Merrill's definitely a 3-point specialist.
All right, let's refresh this. Let's take another look at Chicago real quick, just now that we know Zach LaVine's playing. Vooch, double-digit OF index. Josh Giddey, Kobe White, Zach LaVine. So like I said, Zach LaVine's probably the best play out of 3. The model's telling us that's not true, even with Josh Giddey being projected for less minutes. So I think these guys are all good plays. Their ownerships all seem fine. I'm going to have ownership on all of these guys.
Yeah, it's always tough picking them when they're all healthy, but yeah, I prefer LaVine for sure, I think, out of the bunch.
It's high total. Looking at Jalen Smith, just model. Thinks he's okay value.
I don't hate it.
Best small forward for DraftKings single entry. It's probably Dyson Daniels.
I was about to say, yeah, definitely Dyson.
Yeah, I mean, that's my personal pick, and then he's top of DK value, second in OF index, considerably cheaper than RJ Barrett. And then the guy right below him, who we haven't really mentioned yet, Cam Thomas. It's a really tough matchup against Cleveland, but I still think he's fine as a GPP play under 10% on a 3-gamer.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think RJ is probably too expensive on DraftKings, right? What are you especially if Quickly's in?
That's the thing. Yeah, he's priced for Quickly to be out.
Yeah.
And so this is a pretty good hit to his usage rate. I look at spots like this. He's only 5% owned. He's definitely overpriced, but we're kind of paying more for that low ownership. And so in situations like this, I'm okay overpaying for RJ Barrett a little bit.
22% on FanDuel is pretty high ownership. So that's definitely interesting as well for 600 cheaper.
And then Jayhawk, what time are you doing the Discord Q&A today?
Did the games lock at 7 Eastern, right?
7:30.
Yes, I should be in there at 5 or 7. Sorry, 7 Eastern.
It is 7:30, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, hour and 10. Yeah, an hour and 10 from now. So Jayhawk's going to be in the Discord repeating the same stuff. Maybe we'll have more news on like Emmanuel Quickly or something by then. But if you want instructions to join that, they are in the description below. I think we pretty much touched on every team, right?
Yeah. I think we covered the clip. Yeah, we covered everyone.
See if there's anything different. FanDuel value. I mean, Ricochet. If his ownership was any lower, I'd be very tempted to play a ton of him. As it stands now, I'll probably just try to be around the field. The model, I'm pretty sure the model identified him the other day when he went off for 60. Now the model's identifying him on days that he does not go off for 60. But I think we can take some shots here.
Yeah, I still like him as a play, man. He's very talented, just very boom bust. But as a tournament player, I love that with plays like that. So,
and like Derek Jones is super popping on FanDuel. I'm surprised Norman Powell is not higher here on FanDuel value at 6,300 because this seems like a really bad misprice projected for 50% ownership. I'll probably even have more than that.
Yeah, Norm Powell, he's been awesome, man. I love him over on FanDuel and still fine on DraftKings.
And then just the last note that I want to talk about FanDuel, scrolling through my top lineups, they all have Trae Young and James Harden at point guard. Now, this is something that's come up before on short slates where there are just like one or two very clear top point guards over everyone else. And that's Trae Young and James Harden today. Yeah, there's still Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, and the Bulls guys on the slate. But those two are head and shoulders above everyone else. And so I don't know if it's the best way to think about it, but if none of those mid-range guys have a ceiling game, these raw points from Trae Young and James Harden are just so important. And so, did you build on FanDuel today? Do you like getting to both of these guys in a bunch of your lineups?
I'm not, but I was just kind of looking at, I kind of took a glance earlier. I think they both, the floor and upside with them is just so high at point guard.
It's just I have Trae Young and James Harden projected for more than 15 points each, more than the next guy behind them, which is Donovan Mitchell, and then beyond them, it's even greater disparity. So,
yeah, no, I agree. If I was playing, I definitely would be playing a ton with both those guys.
Ownership on Ricochet, it's right around 20% on DK, 30% on FanDuel, and yeah, it's probably high, but like I said, I'll probably just stay around the field on that.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Dick or Johnson, LOL. Small forward on FanDuel. Shout out to you. I was pretty interested in Grady Dick if Emmanuel Quickly's out.
Yeah.
Is that Jalen Johnson? It's kind of a different price point.
Is he? Yeah, I think that is.
Oh, Cam Johnson, sorry. Cam Johnson or Grady Dick. So I like Grady Dick's price on FanDuel a lot, even with Emmanuel Quickly back. The 6,900 is really tough. If Quickly was out, I'd take shots on this, but with Quickly in, I still think we can take shots on the 6K. And then that thing I mentioned about Cam Johnson being kind of this no man's land, Grady Dick's in the same spot, and his model rating's basically exactly the same. So I don't know. In spots like this, Grady Dick's much lower owned, probably lean towards that.
Yeah, even with Quickly, and I think I do like Grady as like a potential pivot off of Chalky Johnson. I think Johnson obviously will project better, look better, but I do like Grady Dick at low ownership on FanDuel.
And I think this Toronto Clippers game is a better environment for fantasy versus Brooklyn Cleveland.
Yeah.
Davion Mitchell, thanks for mentioning him. Meant to bring him up earlier. I like him. Yeah, I think he's fine for the price. Oh, no, not if Quickly's back. Never mind.
I was about to say, I think
Quickly's if Quickly's back, this kills Davion Mitchell. If Quickly's out, we do like him. That's why we didn't talk about Mitchell. It's not looking great. I mean, we have Quickly projected for 26 minutes, Davion Mitchell for 22.7. It's basically every minute Quickly's not on the court. If Quickly's out, fire up Davion. If he's in, though, he's way overpriced for the role that he'll have.
Yeah, definitely overpriced. Kind of like AO, where if Quickly plays, definitely overpriced.
The way I see that, though, is I still think AO has a path to getting there, and like maybe Davion Mitchell does too. It seems a lot thinner.
Yeah.
Is LaVine playing tonight? Yeah, they said LaVine is good. Grady or Norman on FanDuel? Norman Powell's my favorite play on FanDuel overall today. Model doesn't quite agree, but the model doesn't think he's bad.
I mean, it's definitely Norman for me on FanDuel, no doubt.
Yeah. A Kongwu or Capella? Man, it's been tough to play Capella because I don't know why they don't just trade him so they can run a Kongwu all the minutes at center.
Yeah, I have not been playing Capella unless maybe if a Kongwu's out. So yeah, probably a Kongwu for me, but that's so tough.
I don't even think they're playing 100% of the center minutes, are they? Yeah, they're not even splitting center minutes, and it's like before, all right, well, we cap each of them at 24. Maybe if a Kongwu's playing well, he gets up to 28 some games, but if neither of them are playing 20 in some games, it's just so hard. And we have enough other good pay-ups at the position. We mentioned Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, Zoo, Pirtle.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of options. I'm not really getting there, but I could see them as a GPP plays. You can't write off anyone on these short slates.
Yeah, I agree, but I probably won't have very much of either of those guys.
It's such a high total. Their ownership percentages are kind of appealing. So I'll have percents of them, but these aren't guys that I'm like, oh man, how's the field not seeing this? It's just the minutes are too volatile. And I like volatile, but not like this. I mean, Capella projected for 22, Okongwu projected for 19. Where's the other 7 minutes at center going? Is it going to Jalen Johnson or Larry Nance?
I was thinking Larry Nance, but yeah, it's still not very many.
AO's price like LaVine isn't in. No path, barring Zach being limited. So try to stay away from these absolutes. Like the path is thin. I said that, but him being in the winning lineup is within the range of outcomes tonight. I'm not saying AO is a great play, but he's not a 0% play. Like I agree, he's overpriced. You're paying for the low ownership. Did I say Derek Jones was popping? Yes. Pretty good on a FanDuel value. Yeah, number 5. And then pretty good on DK value too. Low ownership. I really like him on this slate.
Yeah, and we lock value. He's a guy that's typically pretty, not safe, but on this slate, I think he's much safer than some of these guys out here.
Let's build a quick dummy. I don't know what this is. Who's the first player in for you on DraftKings today?
Ooh, that's difficult. I think Dyson Daniels we both really like, so let's plug him in.
I think so. He's got shooting guard, small forward. Let's put him at small forward, kind of a tough position. We were just talking about Derek Jones Jr. Let's plug him in for salary relief, model approved.
Sorry, I love that.
What center do we want to plug in here?
Ooh, it's tough. Maybe one of Allen or Mobley. Or I guess Mobley can be power forward. But...
yeah, let's try Jared Allen. Save 400, see what that looks like. Other guard, value play. Let's take a look at ownership. Oh, Garrison Mathews. Do we have to? I think we got to plug Garrison Mathews into the dummy. As gross as it feels.
2024 is still playing Garrison Mathews.
Jalen Smith season. Good call. That was a good call. Forgot about him. Yeah. Oh gosh, it's gross. Let's plug Jalen Smith over Jared Allen and just see how this looks. Assuming Jalen Smith in, I will say one thing. This is the only player in NBA history that's been ruled out after lock 6 times. So there's like a small risk playing him that he doesn't even see the court, and we don't find out till after the game starts.
Yeah, dude, I remember that slate. I thoroughly remember he was super chalk. That was funny.
See, Garrison Mathews. I mean, I guess we got to go Jalen Johnson.
Yeah, I love Jalen here as well.
So let's put him here. Jalen Johnson. Plug Derek Jones Jr. into the forward spot. It leaves us 8,100. So what I'm thinking here to finish out the dummy is we play one of Trae Young or James Harden, and then we play one of the centers that we like.
Yeah, no, agreed. Totally fine with either one. James will be your chalkier one. Obviously, Trae, GPP.
Since this is pretty chalk except for these two, I'll plug in Trae Young. He's also top of the model at center. 4 Atlanta guys and a Chicago guy in our dummy. Sick. Let's play Pirtle.
Okay, I like it.
And then leaves us 6,400 for a guard. So we're going to have to move something around because this is a little bit uncomfortable. But how can we move around here? How can we make this work?
What's LaVine's price? I guess we already have. Do we have
LaVine 7,100?
71. Okay,
it's a good call. Let's just get to Jared Allen, so can plug in LaVine, Kobe White, or Josh Giddey. Dennis Schroeder, pretty deep GPP play, but he's there too. Darius Garland.
Yeah, I love that. Then you get that mini game stock with Trae and LaVine or something like that. I like that a lot.
Or if you just plug in James Harden, get a little more salary. I mean,
there you go.
You can fit in both. You're probably going to have to forego playing one of the centers, but yeah, I mean, the lineup works.
Yeah, there's definitely a ton of ways to go. But I think the main point is we love that game in general. So
Zubac or Pirtle, they're so close in the model that any answer we give is kind of just guessing. So flip a coin.
Jalen Smith is listed as available to play now. So he still can get ruled out after a while. Definitely not going to say he's not, but it's looking good for now.
I will say, if you want to go strictly by the model, and that extra $100 doesn't matter. Zubac slightly edges out Pirtle, but they're very close. Tom from MySpace, not sure who that is. How do we feel about Porter? Is that Kevin Porter on the Clippers? Is that the only Porter on the slate? Yeah. So with him, apparently his minutes are pretty volatile because he got benched the other night after a poor first rotation. Have you been paying much attention to this Chris Dunn, Kevin Porter saga in LA?
No, I haven't at all. What's going on?
I'm just kind of, well, there's not really anything going on. It feels like Terrence Mann I'm a little disappointed in. I thought he was going to have a larger role, but he's losing minutes to Chris Dunn. And then Kevin Porter Jr. basically has the same role every game. He's fine. We have to look at him on a slate like this. But Chris Dunn, I think, is the guy I'm going to be more interested in. It seems like he does less to piss off Ty Lue, which is very important in today's NBA. Minutes have been there. And like I said, I think he takes away from Terrence Mann's minutes. And so on today's slate, I mean, he's up and down, 4,300. Maybe he's not necessary, but I'll play him over Porter Jr. And then that holds up for the showdown too.
Yeah, I would prefer Chris Dunn as well, and then nutshell as well there.
I mean, though, when it comes down to it, it is kind of a coin flip on how Ty Lue's feeling today. If you're really debating one or the other, if you're playing, is Nance viable at center? I don't think so. We don't have him projected for 10 minutes, and I know we're lacking value, but that's just a little bit.
Then
for sure. Yeah, it's a little bit too deep. It just. Like I mentioned, Io has a slim path. I don't know what Larry Nance's path would look like.
I mean, have Clint Capella get hurt or something.
I mean, 13 minutes. He scored 20 fantasy points. What's his ownership? Larry? I can't even check because he's not. We haven't projected for less than 10 minutes. It just seems kind of thin. I don't think he is.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Marvin Williams. What year is this?
I was about to say. It's not 2024.
The Marvin Williams is like the 3rd overall pick in 2005. Wilson value. We talked about him. I mean, Jayhawk, what were your thoughts on Jalen Wilson?
He's still. I mean, he's fine at 20%, but I would prefer him to be starting to play him, and we both don't think he's going to start unless, yeah. So.
Yeah, and him like coming off the bench in and of itself isn't a big deal. We can't be super duper picky because we just don't have that many value options. So 24% at 3,700. He's probably not a good play, but he might be a play that we just have to make in some of our lineups.
Yeah.
Zaire Williams value. Yeah, like I feel better about playing Zaire Williams than I do Jalen Wilson. It's just, I guess we have more of a need for the value at the small forward position.
Yeah, I feel more comfortable with Zaire as well.
And then last question before we get out of here, DFS, Dorian Finney-Smith. Model's telling us he's okay. For a similar price, Derek Jones Jr. was popping a little bit more, but under 20% ownership. I mean, it's still pretty close to a coin flip between those guys.
Yeah, he's fine. I don't. I'm never really huge on DFS.
And then Mobo or Boucher can get you there. Yeah, I have some percentage to both of them. I think they're both fine guys to throw in some lineups.
Yeah, definitely both fine as tournament shots there.
So that'll do it for us today, guys. Appreciate you all tuning in on this fine Saturday. Hit the subscribe button on your way out. Get notifications when we're going live. Give us that like. We appreciate the thumbs up. We just crossed 10K subscribers. Shout out to you guys. Like I mentioned, Jayhawk will be in the Discord. Instructions to join that are in the description below. You can get a little bit more one-on-one, ask some more fine-tuning questions, I guess. But look forward to seeing you in there, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks.